Shalom, Apostle Tahar coming back at you with this truth, giving all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And this is, I'm going to go through the book of Revelation, the 17th chapter, the entire chapter. So I'm going to entitle this Revelation, the 17th chapter. Now, I've been trying to go through this breakdown for some time now, especially on the street. But on the street, you speak according to the Spirit, so the Spirit leads you to other things. Some person might pass by and ask you a question, or some commotion might come up, so you go into other things. You defend the gospel. So now that I'm here, no one is around me, I'm not on the street, I'm gonna go through it. Revelation 17 verse 1. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Now, the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, keep that in mind, that sitteth upon many waters. And we're going to find out what those waters are later down in this breakdown. Now, the great whore is Babylon the Great. We know that's America. Because I don't know if they went up there and told you, but America is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction in a war known as Armageddon. Because the war is going to get hot in the Middle East. If you look up the word Armageddon in Revelation the 16th chapter, the word itself means a mountain of troops, a mountain of the troops. Hamagad. So things are going to get heated up in the Middle East, and it's going to lead to missiles being shot on America. When I say America, I'm talking about the USA, these United States of America, the contiguous states of America. Second verse, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. Now, what this place pushed to these different nations, number one on the list is democracy. Where, you instead of having kings, you have presidents, vice presidents, prime ministers, and they're voted into office. And that came about from America. It didn't come from England, it came from America. Second verse again, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and in other words, compromise their systems and belief to get on the good graces, or in the good graces of this American system. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. There's two forms of fornication. Fornication means adultery. When a man sleeps with another man's wife, that's fornication, adultery. But you have another form of, Israel committed a fornication by following these other gods. And these other nations have committed a fornication by following the ways, the Western culture. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. Now remember, the woman is the great Hua. That's the woman. Third verse again. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, scarlet meaning red, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now that beast represents Europe as a whole, but it represents these key nations, the 7 heads and the 10 horns. And as you see the screen, it breaks it down. You had in the beginning 7 heads, and then later you had 10 horns, which are now 28 to 29 different nations. The 7 heads represent NATO, and the 10 horns also represent NATO and the EU, because the NATO nations are also, some of the NATO nations are also a part of the 10 horns. Now the 10 horns, which are now 28, 29 nations, are not necessarily part of the 7 heads. Like, for example, NATO consists of the United States of America and Canada. Well, the United States of America is not a part of the 10 horns, which are the EU, the European Union. But they're still in agreement with each other. It says, well, if you the last few months you heard about the Brexit, where the Great Britain left the EU. Now Great Britain said they didn't want to have anything to do with the EU because of the monetary situation. Now, when you go to the book of Daniel, the 2nd chapter, it tells you about the 10, instead of 10 horns in Revelation, it tells you about 10 toes, which the 10 horns and the 10 toes are one and the same. Now, one of the 10 toes was Great Britain. And like I said, Great Britain broke away from the 10 horns, because it said in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, that of these 10 toes, which are now 28, 29 nations, it said of the 10 toes that part of iron and part of miry clay. So the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly weak. 4th verse. And the woman was arrayed in purple and in scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. So part of her filthiness and abomination is the fact that this country pushes homosexuality. That's why you have other countries that accept homosexuality. And this country, America, and as well as the EU nations and the NATO nations, you can be a homosexual, if you're a part of any of these nations. This devil makes laws to protect homosexuals, where the scriptures condemn homosexuality. And if they didn't do anything else based upon their homosexuality, the fact that they passed laws to say that it's okay to be a homosexual, that one point right there, the Most High can destroy this place. If they didn't do anything else, the Most High can destroy this place based upon that one thing. And it tells you that in, I believe it's 2 Peter, the 2nd chapter. It says that, and I can go to it, but I'm not going to go to it. You can go to it yourself. It speaks about that Sodom and Gomorrah was an example or example of those who attempt to do the same thing. And that's exactly what this country is doing. This place is going down. And this place is going down with a big bang. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlot and an abomination of the earth. Let me read that again. 5th verse. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Now, if you have a New Testament Hebrew Bible, which I happen to have, and you look this up and you break it down numerically, it adds up to 666. So that's the number of this beast, of this devil. 6th verse. And I saw the woman, which is America, Babylon the Great, drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Let me read that again, 6th verse. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints, because when we came over here, the kingdom of Judah came over here by way of slave ships, and a lot of them were jumped overboard and was eaten by sharks, and some of them died down there in the pit of the ship. So a lot of us died here on the journey over here to America. And then when we got over here, we served slavery. Some of us was put to death because we rebelled against this damn devil. And you had a lot of Israelites that were hanged, and that was post-slavery. So this devil has a lot to pay for. Because the word, when you look up the word saints, the word saints are referring to the Israelites. And with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua, because when you go back to the Roman Empire, you had martyrs that died for the name of Yahushua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Now the word admiration means love. So when John saw the greatness of that kingdom, he looked upon that woman with great admiration, with great love, because it was a beautiful woman. Because at one time you had other nations that dreamed to come to America, because they taught you that the streets were paved with gold. And this is the land of opportunity. This is not the land of opportunity no more. The Mexicans come over here to get a bullshit job because they make way less in Mexico. That's why they come up over here. 7th verse. And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, which is America, Babylon the Great, and of the beast, which is NATO, NATO in the EU, that carrieth her, which have the 7 heads and 10 horns, NATO and the EU. See, why you have these other camps doing Las Vegas style singing acts and hip-hop videos and selling you t-shirts and going on cruises, we here at Great Millstone are giving you what the Most High told us to give you. These scriptures. 8th verse. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they beheld, or behold, the beast that was and is not and yet is. Now what does that mean by the beast that was and is not and yet is? Well, you have two beasts which are one and the same. The first beast goes back 2,000 years ago, which was referred to as the Roman Empire. And the Roman Empire fell and came back into power as America, these European states, which later formed NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and the EU. Now, the EU was established by a treaty called the Treaty of Rome, and I did a video on that. And when I find that video, I'll put it in the description box, because it goes more into detail of exactly what I'm talking about. It goes on to say, the 9th verse, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on which the woman sitteth. And mountains represent governments. When you read the scriptures and you come across the word mountains, most of the time it represents governments. Because when different governments come together, they have what's called a summit. And the word summit, when you look it up, means the top of the mountain. You know, if you look at a picture of a mountain and you see snow on the top of it, that's called a summit. So these are all the heads of various governments that get together, and they'll choose one host government to have their summits. 10th verse. And there are 7 kings. Now this right here shows you that it's not talking about an actual mountain. It's talking about governments, and it's referring to leaders of these governments. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is. The 1 is, the 5 that are fallen represents the Greeks, the Spanish, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and the Franks, which are the Gauls, which are the French. And 1 is, and the other is not yet come. So the one that is the Roman Empire. Because John the Apostle was sentenced to the salt mines of the island of Patmos. And he had to be in his 90s. And this happened during the period of, scholars will argue what period he was sentenced, but it had to be during the time of Domitian or his son. I got to look that up. But the scholars will argue as to the exact time. But we know it was after 70 AD. It says, and the other is not yet come, and that's America, which is the Hua. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. I'm sorry, let me take that back. That's talking about Great Britain. Because at one time, Great Britain was a great power. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, and is of the seven, and goeth in the perdition. The word perdition means destruction. The eighth is referring to America, which come of the other seven, but it came directly from the seventh nation, which is Great Britain. And you can go to any history book and you can look that up for yourself. 12th verse. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Now, in order to understand an hour with the Most High, you have to understand a day with the Most High. A day with the Most High, according to 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, I believe it's the 8th verse, as 1,000 years and 1,000 years as one day. So now you do the math. Goes on to say in the 13th verse, these have one mind, meaning they're in agreement with each other, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. So the EU nations shall give their power and strength unto NATO, which, like I said, you have NATO nations that are also EU nations. 14th verse. These shall make war with the Lamb, because Yahushua, when Yahushua comes back, they're going to attempt to stop Yahushua and the angels. And the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest. Now remember, I told you from the first verse about the waters. Keep that in mind. Well, we're going to get the answer. Where the Hua, America, sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. What is America at one time known as? The Great Melting Pot. I would say every nation on the planet Earth, in one way or another, was brought over here to America. That's why there's so many different cultures in America. 16th verse. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Now wait a minute. I thought these were allies. Let me read that again. And the 10 horns which are the EU, which thou sawest upon the beast, which is NATO, these shall hate the whore, hate America, and shall make her desolate, empty her out, and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. So we teach that the so-called Russians, Gog and Magog, is going to shoot missiles on America, but it goes deeper. These EU nations are going to shoot missiles on America. So there's something that this bitch asshole is going to do to make these nations, these EU nations, angry at her. And ultimately they're going to shoot missiles on her. 17th verse. For the Most High have put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, which is NATO, until the words of the Most High shall be fulfilled. 18 verse. And the woman, America, which thou sawest, is the great city, which is Babylon, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Anyway, with that, I'm going to say shalom. Make your comments, make response videos.